to be with you. Late night for me last night. I was in Surrey County as I continue to drive all across the Commonwealth of Virginia to encourage people to vote now and vote no on this ridiculous illegal gerrymandering scheme the Democrats continue to push. If you're following us on Facebook and Twitter, X, and all these social media platforms, I guess the Democrats have put out a little memo that says go harass John Reid and his friends, because all of these whack job leftists are on there talking about how this is to save democracy. I got news for you guys. You are not saving democracy when you deliberately draw maps that stomp all over and silence the voices and votes of rural Virginia by anchoring your districts in Fairfax. I mean, you can convince yourself of whatever you want, but that is not a representative democracy. That's not the mindset of people who have strong ideas that they think they can sell to the average person. That is a power grab. So please stop acting like you're saving democracy. You're not saving democracy. You're stomping all over. You're making a joke of it by drawing lines that look like lobsters that have places with no connection geographically, and trying to tell people, oh, this is good for America. It's not good. We could debate Donald Trump all day and all night, but it's not good for Virginia. In Surrey County, there are people who realize that if this thing passes, if the yes votes win, they might as well not show up to vote in at least congressional elections, because it's already been rigged. It's already been rigged. The whole concept of one person, one vote, I thought we did the whole civil rights movement about that. I thought we brought women into vote. I thought we made sure that we wouldn't have a poll tax. We wouldn't test people in order to vote. The whole idea of one citizen, one vote, and yes, I use the word citizen very deliberately. One citizen, one vote was replaced by the communist version of it doesn't matter who votes, it matters who counts the votes. That's awful to think about. Oh, we don't care really who votes. We just care who counts it. I mean, that's flat out cheating. And in certain places in America, come on, that's true. Like, does anybody believe that everybody's fair in Chicago? And there are a couple of other places we could point out where there is a legendary rumor of cheating. And I don't think it's just made up. Do you? Are you trying to tell me that you think that everybody's pure as snow in Chicago? So, I mean, you metamorphosize from one citizen, one vote to it doesn't matter who votes, it matters who counts the votes. Now it's not even that. Now it's just who draws the maps, because we have so much data that anybody who wants to can draw maps that exclude neighborhoods with different demographics that oh, we'll slice this in half, and that will dilute their voting power, and they'll never win. They'll never have a Republican congressperson. And that's what you're voting on. Do you even want to pretend to be fair anymore? And the Democrats are lying, which it's so embarrassing to me that people that, you can have opposition and you respect them, right? Like I am for the death penalty. I think the death penalty, the fact that we've gotten rid of the death penalty in Virginia is a big mistake. And I think we are seeing people behave like crazy whack jobs who are violent because we demonstrate on a regular basis we're not serious about locking you up. You could go slaughter 10 people, including children, and we don't have the guts to kill you. We've just lost our moral compass here. But I respect someone who's like a nun who says that they don't believe in killing people, even if they're violent, crazed killers. I can respect that, and I can have a conversation about it. What I don't respect is people who deliberately rig the system and then get up and try to convince you that they're doing you a favor. I mean, come on, that's what's happening here. So I hope you're paying attention. The folks in Surrey showed up last night on the steps of the courthouse. I'll be in Chesterfield County tomorrow morning, and then I'm speaking in Blackstone tomorrow night at the Chamber of Commerce dinner, and I'm very excited to, I liked when I was campaigning going to places that perhaps other candidates don't go. I like going and talking. I mean, it's great to have 1,000 people in the room, but I don't mind driving out to talk to 30, 40, 50 people. A lot of politicians won't do that. I mean, a lot of politicians, here's the also the ugly truth. A lot of politicians don't want to shake hands with the average person. They want money. They hope you'll send them $25 a month or $100 a month, but they're not interested in actually talking to the citizens because they're so convinced that they're right that they don't want to deal with the peons, right? I've never had that attitude. I mean, and if I had that attitude in my household, that would have been slapped down real fast. My father didn't buy into that. George Allen didn't buy into that. I mean, if you're not a retail politician, you're making a mistake and you're not serving your people. You got to go talk to people and meet them and give even people who disagree with you the chance to talk to you. And I'm not even on the ballot now, and I'm still willing to do that. I think that's important. And you should be suspicious of people who won't drive into rural parts of the state where there aren't huge numbers of votes. If you're not willing to do that work, if the only thing you want to do is be on television and speak to 1,000 people at some college auditorium, you shouldn't be running for public office. You should be selling a book. That's how you sell books. But you shouldn't be running for public office. So that lots of things going on this weekend to try to talk to the people of Virginia about voting no. I'm going to make a big deal out of this all the way through April 21st. If you have not been motivated or you're not really sure, keep watching this show. We will pull perspective for you of everything that's on the line. Vote now and vote no against this illegal gerrymandering scheme that the Democrats are trying to push through. I do want to give shout out to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. There's vote no, April 21st. Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the governor of Arkansas, was thrown out of another restaurant, this time in Arkansas, not here in Virginia. I mean, how embarrassing for Virginia when the, you know, the coexist, let's all get along crowd decides, no, we don't really mean that. We want to coexist with people we agree with. We don't want to coexist with people who are Republicans, even if they work at the White House. So remember, what was it, that little trash restaurant here, the Red Hen or something? They threw Sarah Huckabee Sanders and her family out. Talk about uncivil. I mean, just disgusting attitude and behavior. And they were rightfully condemned. Of course, there are a bunch of leftists who constantly tell you how open-minded they are and have stickers on the back of their car that say coexist and diversity is important stuff. They don't really mean it. They just want you to go along with them. They want people who look different from them who will agree with them. But, if you're gay or you're black or you're Asian or you're Latino and you don't agree with them, they'll run over you with no problem. And here's a woman who's the governor of Arkansas, a woman, and they don't care. They're going to throw her out of the restaurant, and in Little Rock. And of course, it's my people. I hate to put it this way, the gays who were said, "Oh, we feel threatened." Do you? Do you feel threatened by the presence of Sarah Huckabee Sanders eating a croissant in your coffee shop? You feel threatened by that? How pathetic and weak are you? Every stereotype comes through about weak people. If you're actually threatened by a female governor having a croissant and a coffee in your public coffee shop, not a private club somewhere like, oh, who brought this person in? But a public coffee shop. And then you ask her, and she says she was talking to some other moms. I don't know what the deal was, but you got to call this stuff out. These are not open-minded people. These are not thoughtful people. These are not people who want to coexist. They are not kind and wonderful. I mean, they wrap themselves in, oh, we're Christians and we care about. No, you don't. No, and it's not my place. God's going to decide what to do with you. That's not my place to judge you on behalf of God. I try very diligently not to do that, but I'll judge you here. We'll let God deal with you in heaven, but I'm going to judge you here. If you're throwing someone like Sarah Huckabee Sanders out of your restaurant, not for giving a speech, not for showing up and having a rally, I'd feel differently if you don't like what she has to say. If I showed up and had a rally in your restaurant, and you didn't invite me, then I could understand you saying, excuse me, Mr. Reid, we don't buy into this and you need to leave. That's a different story. But if I show up to have dinner, then are you, or a lunch or a croissant and a coffee, you're a coffee shop, serve the people. I used to tell this story on WRVA, and this is a good moment for me just to repeat it. Back when everybody was fighting over gay marriage, I mean, really ugly, nasty fight. And I supported gay marriage, and I was on television at the time, and I was younger, so my feelings were hurt a lot. Now my feelings are still hurt. I just have decided there's nothing anybody can do about it, so it's okay. You know, you stay in the fight, you deal with it. But I remember going to Ruby Tuesday's restaurant in the Willow Lawn Shopping Center here in Richmond. I don't think there's a Ruby Tuesdays there now, but I used to go and they had this chicken with the shrimp on it, kind of a New Orleans dish, and I would go. And so a friend of mine, we went over. I think I'd finished the morning show at the TV station, and we went over to have lunch. And it was a gay guy, and Jerry Falwell was having lunch with his daughter. I think it was his daughter. I'm almost certain it was his daughter. I think she worked in Richmond, if I remember correctly. And my friend, who was a big, not really a leftist liberal, but back when Democrats would talk to me, I had a lot of friends who didn't agree with me on some issues. But he was furious. He's like, let's go tell Jerry Falwell to F off. I was like, no, why would you do that? He's over there. He's having lunch with his daughter. I don't agree with him on this issue, but why would you go and make yourself look bad? He's not giving a speech. He's having lunch with his daughter. Everybody has lunch with their family member. Why are you so bold as to go over and think that that's appropriate? I said, I'm not. Don't do that. Plus, it reflects poorly on me. I'm a guy on the television. I claim to have high standards. Why would you want to do that? Don't do it. So I talked him out of it. And Jerry Falwell had lunch with his daughter and then left. And, we didn't say anything nasty to him or flip him off or throw something across the room or scream across. It's just basic dignity that's being lost here. I understand people are passionate. I'm pretty passionate, in case you haven't noticed, about the things that I believe in. But it's weird. The same people who constantly talk about being so open-minded, and the people who constantly talk about their ethics and their coexist diversity concept, are the most vicious in our society. What is that? We got to call you out on it, because you're not open-minded and you're not really nice either. When you're threatening people, when you're calling people names, when you're trying to embarrass them, when you're screaming foul language across the room, flipping people off, you're not very nice. And I don't do that to Sarah Huckabee Sanders. Don't do that to, if I saw Barack Obama, I've met Barack Obama many times. I've been in the White House with Barack Obama. So there's no novelty about seeing Barack Obama. I wouldn't flip him off or scream or yell. I might leave the restaurant like, all right, everybody's going to freak out about Barack Obama. I don't need to be around this. I wouldn't be ugly about it. And I certainly wouldn't be ugly to a family member. Like if his kids were there, I don't know, his daughters. There's no reason for me to say something about his daughters. There's no need to be ugly about it. Why are people so rude and nasty and pompous and arrogant that they think that they should behave that way? You so 100% sure you're right? I said for a long time, the difference between me and a Democrat is that I'm only 99% sure I'm right. I always leave that 1% possibility that I've missed something, or my life experience hasn't prepared me to fully understand something, or I am just wrong. There's a possibility. They're not. They don't leave 1% possibility to examine the other person's issue. They'll jam it right down your throat, kind of like they're doing the gerrymandering thing here. That's how confident they are. I think those are dangerous people to have in office. You want to be confident and you want to be strong, but you've got to hold out the ability to talk to other people, be civil and decent, and engage in good conversation and dialogue. And one thing I witnessed in the campaign last year, people aren't interested in that. They're not interested in it. Here's the big issue of the day for me. President Trump is calling out NATO for not helping get the ships through the Strait of Hormuz. I think he's right. What is the point of being in these alliances in the West if you're not going to make sure that the blood that keeps our society going, which whether you like it or not is oil, didn't have to be. If you would green light nuclear production of electricity, you'd be a little less dependent on this. But okay, our cars and much of our industry is powered by oil and gasoline. So you've got to keep this going. And these guys are like, oh, I don't know. You put us in this situation. Yeah, he put you in a situation where he got rid of mass killers and terrorists who've been slaughtering Westerners for almost 50 years. So if you think that I'm going to be critical of Donald Trump for doing that, you're mistaken. There's we've all why have we always for 47 years acted like we don't want to decapitate this snake, this dragon that is threatening and actually killing Westerners? Why are we so pathetic and weak? How many decades are we supposed to deal with this? Like, oh God, if we have another summit and we have another meeting, maybe they won't kill Jewish people who are on a cruise ship in the Mediterranean. Maybe they won't bomb the barracks of our Marines. Something. Maybe they won't chop off the heads of Christians onto a beach. Maybe they won't slaughter Christians in Africa. Maybe they won't ship bombs to different places and try to kill Americans as they run marathon. I mean, what are we doing here? Why are we so passive that we think that we should subjugate ourselves to people who want to kill us? Not people who just disagree with us. Okay, you disagree. You want to live a different lifestyle than I do. Okay. I mean, it may mean I don't come visit you, but that's fine. You don't want me there. I don't really want to be there if you don't want me there. I can handle that. What I can't accept is the idea that we're going to just let people slaughter innocent citizens and take actions that are trying to collapse us as a society. I mean, it's bad enough if they're doing things to try to kill people. That's bad enough. But they're deliberately taking action to try to collapse our entire society. And we're just having cocktails at the United Nations acting like that's not a problem? I think it's a problem. And I'm glad Donald Trump has done something about it. And for all the people, and this includes some of the Republicans, I get it. I talked to a friend of mine who is really against what Trump has done in Iran. And I like the guy. We have gotten along for many, many years. And I think he's been consistent. He does not like to see American men and women in uniform come home dead. I respect that. I think that's, I respect that is something you're very concerned about. I'm concerned about it too, but I also know what the point of our military is. And it is to go kill the bad guys before they kill people here domestically in the United States, if necessary. Hopefully we don't overreact, but if necessary, that's what the military is designed to do. And presumably, if you join the military, which is optional, you understand that that's the job and it's dangerous and it's awful. And hopefully that's why we respect you in person and with financial remuneration. And I mean, the Democrats don't seem to get that, but most Republicans I know are very protective of the military, as they should be, to make sure that these people are taken care of, because it is a risky, horrible job, not unlike being a cop in downtown Richmond, if we're being honest. Not unlike it. You're putting your life on the line to do a job. We should respect you and we should, pay you and make sure that you are not put in a situation where you're left with nothing after you put everything on the line for us. But I said to the guy last night when I was talking to him, and again, this is a friend of mine. I like him. I said, don't you think that the Iranians have demonstrated, the Iranian regime, it's not the Iranian people, and that's important. The Iranian regime has demonstrated so frequently that they are vicious, brutal killers, that when somebody finally goes after the Ayatollah, we should back that person up. You know, Donald Trump, who has proven time and time again, he doesn't take the bait and just fly off the handle and get us involved in international conflict. I mean, is that safe to say? The first term, he didn't take the bait, and I was sitting over here thinking we really should take the bait. We should kill these people, but Donald Trump chose not to do it, and most Americans seem to respect that. So if you believe that in the first term he was smart enough and wise enough not to take the bait to be involved in every potential international conflict, then why are you questioning what he's doing right now? What is it that why are you so skeptical that this isn't a real thoughtful response to prevent Iran from getting a nuclear weapon? I mean, I think that's a pretty important that's a pretty important goal, that it may appear as something that has to be dealt with at a time that's not convenient. It's not convenient right now. Donald Trump's desperately trying to get prices down because the Democrats are lying and acting like things are worse now than they were under Joe Biden. I mean, that's just not true. We know that's not true. So it's not convenient for him to be involved in this Iranian situation. But I think responsible leaders recognize this is when you got to do something about it. And if you were at all confused about who the good guys are and who the bad guys are, look at what happened yesterday at the end of Ramadan, where they take a 19-year-old championship wrestler who was out protesting, and they hang him from a crane in public while the morning prayers are being called across Tehran, as I understand it. I mean, a 19-year-old wrestler. And compare that to what we're dealing with here in the United States. People who protest in the United States walk away free all the time, unless they go and like punch a cop or get involved in a scuffle with the cop and threaten the cop's life. We don't execute people because they disagree with us. We don't. I mean, and please stop comparing these two whack jobs who went out and deliberately picked a fight with law enforcement and got killed, to taking a 19-year-old wrestler and hanging him from a crane to intimidate the people. That's what happens regularly. It's been happening for decades in Iran. We are the good guys objectively, and they're the bad guys. And you can never lose focus on that. You could never lose focus on that. And so, it's uncomfortable. It's terrible. I wish this wasn't the case. I wish we weren't in this situation. I wish that Iran had gone back into their hole and just kind of, I can't free everybody around the world. So if they had just kept their fiefdom of oppression to themselves, I doubt we would be doing anything other than the oil component, which is important. But they're bad guys, and they're trying to kill people. And we can't tolerate that anymore. We'll share some more of why what's happening over there should be instructive to us in the United States, and maybe make us hit pause a little bit about how much we accept radical Islam taking a political role and a cultural role in the United States. And this is coming from somebody who's lived in the Middle East. We'll talk about that at the end of the program, because it's uncomfortable, and I know that people are going to scream bigotry, 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 but it's not bigotry. It's called wisdom, not to let people who hate your culture take over your political positions and try to destroy your society from within. And we need to be discerning about that, wise and discerning about that. We'll talk about it as we continue. Let's take a quick break. We'll come back and let's find out what happened in the Virginia General Assembly. They're still not done with their budget. Of course, Democrats have the governor's office, the Senate, the House. They can't agree on a budget. Republicans don't have anything to do with it. Former Delegate Tim Anderson, the attorney in Virginia Beach, who is in the fight constantly, joins us in just a moment when we return on the Reid Revolution.
They defied a court order and ignored the rule of law. Now Richmond politicians are drawing new congressional districts to rig the game for themselves. They want to eliminate competitive elections in Virginia so they can protect sanctuary city policies that put dangerous criminal aliens back on our streets. Here's what we should do with these corrupt maps. Stick them right in the trash. Vote no on partisan gerrymandering.
Yeah, hope you'll vote no. And I'm glad to continue to share all of these videos that are coming out that kind of illuminate the different reasons that this is such a cynical, bad move and an illegal move by the Democrats. Vote no between now and April 21st. And whatever you do, don't believe what the Democrats have put on the ballot. I can't believe I've got to say that. The Democrats, so dishonest, they have written the ballot itself in a way that is deliberately misleading to the people of Virginia. I mean, if you're willing to do that, what won't you do? And why are we tolerating it? Why are the judges tolerating it? Why are we as people tolerating it? Don't tolerate it. Go vote no and send a message that you're not gonna put up with this. Everybody's vote should count here. We already made that decision in Virginia. So we'll talk about that some more. There's breaking news that Chuck Norris has died at the age of 86. The mixed martial artist and the star of Texas Walker Ranger and all these movies. I met Chuck Norris once, seemed like a really super guy. And of course, he kind of evolved into this legendary actor that, I don't know, what was it? Like alligators run when Chuck Norris comes in the room. And things that would normally kill a human are scared of Chuck Norris because he was so old and still was moving around and kicking butt. But I'm sure we'll hear more about Chuck Norris passing as we continue on this Friday. All right. Former delegate Tim Anderson, the famed attorney down at Virginia Beach, is back with us on this Friday to talk about the wrap-up of the Virginia General Assembly. And I have to tell you, Tim, I've appreciated that you, even not being in the General Assembly, have done such a good job almost every day of keeping track of the movement of legislation and telling the behind-the-scenes story of what's happening. What jumps out at you as the session begins to wrap up? I guess they're out of town and they're coming back in April.
Well, I think one thing that I talked about this week was that Abigail Spanberger does not have to sign any of these bills for them to become law. That's not anything the Democrats have done. This is just how Virginia law works. And so if a bill is presented to the governor can sign it, the governor can veto it, or the governor can take no action. And if the governor takes no action, it becomes law. I think that she clearly has presidential aspirations, and some of the bills that are coming forward are going to hurt her. And I think we're going to see a lot of the legislation that's been pushed up become law simply by her inaction. That way there she can say, I never signed it. You know, it just, that's what happens in Virginia. So we're watching that.
So you don't have to take another vote. The governor could just let it roll, and July 1st it becomes law. If they don't veto it directly.
There's a short window, 7 days in some circumstances, a little bit longer in others, but short window, and it becomes law as if she signed it. So I think we're going to be watching.
What a chicken way of governing.
Yeah, well, I mean, I will say this. Governor Youngkin, all of them have done it. It's not necessarily so much. I mean, the General Assembly sends them 700 bills. I mean, you know, having to sign your name to 700 pieces of paper for a lot of minor things, it's, you know, but I do think you're right.
The big stuff.
In this situation, this is going to be big bills that she's just not going to sign, and they'll become law. So we'll see. Watch that. Now, I've looked at the most recent tally. Not many bills have become law as of right now. The one bill that has deals with my town in Virginia Beach, dealing with the charter change. So
this is about electing the city council, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, we're going to what's called a 10-1 ward system in Virginia Beach, and it favors Democrats dramatically.
Surprise.
And so what Democrats did is this, and this is important because this goes into your messaging on the 10-1 state congressional redistricting thing. So laws become effective on July 1. unless they have an emergency clause. And in order to get an emergency clause, you have to have 4/5 of the General Assembly vote to approve it. So Kelly Fowler, Delegate Fowler down here in Virginia Beach, produced the bill to make the Virginia Beach 10-1 system. It's different than the congressional 10-1, but the Virginia Beach 10-1 system, an emergency clause. And the General Assembly didn't agree to do that by 4/5. They did vote in favor. So it went to the governor, and then the governor added some language to it that made it that added the word emergency clause effective immediately. Sent that back down. That only has to be passed by a simple majority, and then it becomes law effective immediately. Completely and totally illegal. It bypasses the Virginia Constitution to do this. It's not allowed. It's not appropriate. But they're so obsessed in getting this 10-1 system in Virginia Beach online because it favors this election for more Democrats picking up seats. So we are seeing now 2 times now with the statewide redistricting or gerrymandering scheme and now the Virginia Beach scheme that if the Constitution's in the way, they're just going to bypass it. And it's gross. It's all about power. It's all about brute, raw power of gaining political power. And, you get some
Has
Democrats.
this been litigated? You all tried to litigate the larger gerrymandering issue just based on the fact that the Democrats decided not to obey the calendar and the rules that they wrote about how these things had to be rolled out, and the judges wouldn't touch it. Or one judge did, but the rest of the Supreme Court wouldn't touch it. Was this litigated?
This has not been litigated, but the city of Virginia Beach has municipal standing to fight, and I hope they do. Not because we're not going to go to it. We're clearly going to go to it. Our voters in Virginia Beach voted for it, but we have a constitutional mandate of how this is supposed to happen, and they want it to happen now because it will give them more power this election. And it can't happen now unless 4/5 of the General Assembly says it does. And so the governor being willing to break the Constitution now twice, she signed 2 bills, the Virginia Beach bill and the bill on the redistricting amendment. Both of those bills are unconstitutional. The judge in Tazewell County said it. The judge in my case, when I was representing the city of Lynchburg, said parts of it are unconstitutional. And now she signed a bill in Virginia Beach by bypassing the Virginia Constitution. So it's just I think it's a theme that if the Constitution's in the way, we'll just bypass it. And that's, and of course everybody's like, oh, you're being nitpicky. You're just sour grapes. You lost all this stuff.
It's the law, right?
I mean, I don't know. I think the Constitution's supposed to mean something.
Yeah, me
and I
too.
think we're supposed to follow it.
What's the mindset, though? I've worked around a lot of elected officials, and quite frankly, Tim, on occasion, I disagreed with the decision that the person I was working with was about to make. And I felt like as a staff person or as a paid advisor, sometimes an unpaid advisor, my obligation was to share what I thought analytically. And there were a couple of times where I could point to someone who said, I really want to do this, but I shouldn't do it, and therefore I'm not going to. Maybe I could get away with it, but I shouldn't do it, and the law seems very clear here, so I've got to restrain myself from taking action. And of course everybody's like, oh, you're a wimp, why don't you do this? This is not the way the Democrats do it. They stick the knife in, so you should just go for broke too. And I kind of respect people when I see them up close contemplate this and then restrain themselves because they believe in the rule of law. It doesn't sound like that is a part of the modern mindset of these Democrats in Virginia at all.
It's not. And they've demonstrated it now twice in a row, dealing both with voting, that if the law's in the way, they're just going to bypass it. They're just going to do it. And, on the gun bills, they literally saw the District Court of Columbia Court of Appeals say 10-round magazine bans are unconstitutional. The most liberal cesspool in America is the District of Columbia. And the court there said these magazine bans are unconstitutional. And then not a week later, the Virginia General Assembly passes a magazine capacity ban. And on the floor, they say, they challenge them and they say, what are you doing? And their response is, oh, well, let's see what the courts do. Like, they literally don't care about the law or the Constitution. It's just about pushing their agenda. And then it's going to cost millions of dollars in legal fees to fight over decisions that they're making, and time and effort, and people are going to get arrested, and people are going to have their liberties in jeopardy and their freedoms in jeopardy, all because they have an agenda. And this is how we're being governed in Virginia. And you thought we would have learned our lesson in 2020. All these people who stayed home and didn't vote for Winston because she wasn't MAGA enough, or she wasn't pure enough in one category or another. They stayed home, and now we're stuck with this, which is an absolute disaster. And I just hope everybody just learns from this, that the next time we have to vote, you may not love the Republican candidate, but my God, they're 100 times better than what we're looking at on the other side. And we need to remember that when we're voting.
Yeah. Well, it is a hard lesson to learn. And unfortunately, a lot of this stuff is going to get locked in. And, we're stuck for 4 years with Abigail Spanberger, and we're stuck for another year beyond this one with the current makeup of the House and the Senate. So even if people do awaken and they're offended by the attitude and behavior, and if the 51 tax increases, make them mad, you're still stuck, and you can't undo this necessarily. Look at what Ralph Northam did, dumping a cop killer into my neighborhood, letting people out of prison who've committed the worst crimes. I think a lot of people woke up. It was just too late, and we still have not been able to fix those legislative changes that the Democrats made. And so once you let it go, it's almost impossible to fix it until there's just something so dramatic that there's a sea change in the representatives at the Capitol.
There's just no fixing it, and you're right, they're going to dramatically change it. I was looking at some of the bills, and I was thinking, what is going to cost us the most, right? Where are we going to feel Democrat priorities the most? And it's really going to be in collective bargaining. What they've done is they're going to let all localities collectively bargain, and so all of
what
them
does
are
that
going,
mean for people who are not familiar with it? Because we've been blessed not to deal with that in Virginia. So walk me through the 30-second definition.
So basically, unionization of the public sector at the local
teachers, the trash man in your county, the
Yep.
cops, fire department,
all of them,
even
and
people we like.
That's right, yeah. But when all of them come in, they're gonna bargain for more money. You saw this happen in Fairfax County. They immediately all got a 5% raise. Well, a 5% raise is going to cost the city of Virginia Beach alone probably $500 million. And
That's a lot of money.
When you're talking about that, where do you think that money comes from? It's going to come from real estate taxes, which is the primary place where all taxes and localities come from. So we're estimating that the average family in Virginia Beach is going to see their real estate taxes go up probably by about $400 to $600 a year. And that's to be able to let them collectively bargain. So, when we're talking about affordability, what they were talking about is making it more affordable for government workers, to get more money, and we're going to all have to pay for it. They gave them all a 300% raise at the General Assembly.
God, that should outrage people. These people,
like,
they run saying they're going to make. You think they're talking about you, right? The guy who's up at 7 o'clock in the morning, making sure the kids get to school. The husband and the wife probably both have a job. You thought they were talking about you. They weren't. They were talking about the welfare state and people who are dependent on government getting bonuses. And then they're so crazy that they, in the first year of the new legislature, they wind up passing what was it, a 300% pay raise?
Yep, 300% pay raise.
That's insane.
Yep. And they're just everybody's like, oh well, $400 a year is nothing. But look at what else is happening in Virginia. I got a $1,000 power bill the other day.
Yeah.
I've never had a $1,000 power bill for my house ever. I mean, the highest bill I've ever had was $600, and now I have a $1,000 power bill. And everybody knows that their power is much more expensive because of the data centers sucking up all the energy, and we're having to import energy from Pennsylvania and Ohio. We all know what's happening here, but Virginians are getting squeezed everywhere, and now we're going to see our taxes go up. Our real estate taxes go up $400, $500 more dollars a year, and then they're going to put a mattress tax. I mean, my goodness, you got to buy a mattress. You're going to pay a tax on sleeping. They're just
And when you dispose of it too, if I understand correctly.
That's right. That's right.
So you wonder why, when you go up to the Northeast, you ride the butt crack of America up to New York. It's gross. You wonder why you see all this junk dumped on the side of the road. It's because poor people and developers say, hell no, I'm not paying this tax. I'll go out in the middle of the night and I'll dump this on the side of the road. You guys figure it out. That's exactly why you see, it's not just litter bugs, who throw their McDonald's bag out the window, which is also awful to do. It's people who say, I'm not paying whatever the tax is, even if it's $20 per mattress. I'm not doing it. I'm just going to dump it on the road, and you can clean it up later, and then I'm off the hook. That's terrible.
We're just getting squeezed in every direction, and Virginians are going to feel it this year more than we've ever felt it before. We're going to feel it, and it's going to come hard, and people are going to be mad, and they're not going to be able to do anything about it because, like you said, the very soonest we might be able to slow things down is going to be the beginning, well, really July of 2028. That's about the soonest we're going to be able to stop anything, and that's if we win an election next year.
Yeah. Tim Anderson, you always pull focus. I know you got to go to court, and I appreciate you taking time to talk to us this morning. Thank you very much.
Have a good day, John.
Yeah. So make sure you check Tim out. I mean, on social media, he is one of the people who's constantly updating what's happening in the Virginia General Assembly, and isn't pulling any punches. I think that's pretty important. And Tim is also an attorney in Virginia Beach. He takes on some cases that I think lazy attorneys, or I've always wanted to find really aggressive attorneys. Like, if I'm going to pay you, I want you to really go hard for me and try to get me out of a mess or advocate for my position. And it's funny, not funny, but you pay these people money, and sometimes you get them and they start arguing for your opponent. Like, well, you have to understand the other. I'm like, yeah, I get it. I've already heard the other side tell me what they think. Can you help me strategize so that I can win here? Because honestly, I think I'm right. So instead of repeating the arguments against me, can you stand up for me? And I think Tim is one of those lawyers. You get him in your court, and he is going to fight for you. That sounds like a TV ad slogan, but that's what I've witnessed. All right, let's take a quick break. Now, we're going to talk about something that's a little different here. I'm an artsy-fartsy guy. The arts community kind of is at odds with me, but I love Broadway. It's one of the stereotypical things about me. Say what you will. There's so many moments that I've spent in the theater, and especially with musicals, here I'm really validating a stereotype, where there's something that's distilled in that theatrical moment, in the lyric of one song, or in a show that tells a story about someone who might not normally have their story told, that I think is valuable. And while conservatives are often at odds with the arts community, and that is certainly returned viciously on a lot of occasions, I still go and I sneak into the show in the back of the room, and I watch these. I just think there's so much great stuff that's being produced out there, and we're lucky in Richmond and in Norfolk. There's a Broadway series that comes through Virginia where you don't have to go to New York and pay an exorbitant ticket price to see these shows. And there's a lady that I've known for years, Cindy Creasy, who will be with us in just a moment to talk about the new season of Broadway shows traveling the country that will stop here in Richmond. We'll talk about that when we return on this Friday. Something a little lighter as we wrap up the week on the Reid Revolution.
Republicans and Democrats work together to get politicians out of the business of picking their own voters. 2/3 of Virginians voted for this fair and balanced process. Now, Career politicians in Richmond want to end the nonpartisan process and draw rigged congressional maps for friends. They want to end competitive elections in Virginia and silence your voice. That's more than unfair. It's an undemocratic power grab. Vote no on partisan gerrymandering by April 21st.
Yeah, I got to go. I've got that. I did what Glenn Youngkin asked me to do, and I signed up for the mail-in ballot. And I don't like mail-in ballots, but Glenn Youngkin said to do it, so I did it. And now I got to get this thing over. I don't want to put it in the post office. I don't want to put it in the mail. So I've got to go over to the Henrico Courthouse and drop it off so that they check that I voted, and I know that it got to them, and I didn't have to deal with any intermediaries. But anyway, I hope you will vote now and vote no, however you vote. I think it's pretty important. All right, turning the page to something that maybe is a little bit lighter on a Friday. And I mentioned that I'm kind of an artsy person. I think in another world, perhaps I wouldn't be involved in politics and I would be more actively involved in the arts community. I want to be supportive of the arts community. I wish that we weren't at odds so often, but life is what life is. But I still think there are moments where these really wonderful, crafted musical performances and plays come through town. And I do think there's a lot to learn from someone who actually puts in the time to craft a script and a story that sharing a message. May not always agree with it, or there may be elements of it that you don't agree with, but it's a wonderful experience, I think. And we're fortunate in a lot of cities around the United States that these shows tour. And they're not all, bubblegum pop stars touring. Some of them really have a thoughtful message. Cindy Creasy is with Broadway in Richmond, and she joins us now. And I'm so glad to see you. I hope I'll get to see you in person, because last year I didn't get to see you even once during the campaign. So now I'm back.
I know.
To
We were just
normalcy.
very busy people last year, weren't we?
You got it. Well, you just announced the new collection of shows that are coming through Richmond, and I didn't recognize all of them. You want to walk through what you all have selected and who's on tour?
Sure. So we're starting off with one of Richmond's favorites. It's coming back. It's Dirty Dancing. It's a new production of it. And so I think people just love that very much. It's a good movie, a feel-good movie, takes us back to another time. And the dancing
And it was
is, of
filmed
course, phenomenal
here in
in
Virginia.
that, so.
The movie that everybody remembers was
Yes.
filmed here. So.
Yeah, some in Mountain Lake and some down in North Carolina. But yes, and just a fun, feel-good, Broadway musical. And then we have, which is a premiere. We have 5 premieres this year, by the way. 5 premieres that have never played Richmond before. And that's The Notebook, which is based on the novel and the movie. Just a beautiful, beautiful story about love through all kinds of trials and tribulations. And that is certainly, I'm looking forward to seeing that, because I love the book and I love the movie, Hopeless Romantic, of course. So that was wonderful.
It's got
Then-
some
yeah,
lovely
go ahead.
songs, Cindy. And it's
Yes.
weird. I go to New York for business, or used to on a regular basis. And then I would always try to keep one night open where I didn't have a dinner meeting or some obligation. And I think people figured it out. John's going to go buy a cheap ticket to a Broadway show. And there was one time, maybe 2 years ago, it was before the campaign, where The Notebook was playing. Now, I didn't read the book, and I remember everybody, the Notebook craze, and all these women were we love The Notebook.
Oh, yeah.
But it was the only discounted ticket I could get. And I thought, well, I'll go see it. Maybe I'll hate it. Maybe I'll like it. Who knows? But at least it'll be something to see. I thought it was a great show. The music was beautiful. The sentiment was great.
So glad to hear that.
It's the arc of love and life that I think anybody, whether you're a right-wing conservative, you're a left-wing liberal, you would appreciate what people go through in their relationship, and coming out at the end of life having to deal with that. I give it a thumbs up. I really enjoy
love
it.
how they stage it. I'm so glad to hear you say that. I am so glad to hear you say that. But yeah, I love how they stage it too. Like with the 3 different couples. I mean, it's just beautifully done. But our next preview or I guess I should say premiere, will be Alicia Keys' Hell's Kitchen. And that, got a lot of Tony Awards attention, and people love the soundtrack of that. And of course, it's about you start with the 17-year-old Alicia Keys, and what she was,
So it's her
what her
story.
life was like before. Yeah, so it is her story, and it's beautiful. It's really fun. There are moments of great fun. There are moments of sadness, of course, and the music is obviously her, so it's phenomenal. But the dancing is also really great. I love the
This will
staging in
probably
that as
get
well.
you a little younger demographic. Maybe some people who would normally go to a Broadway show would find this appealing, a
Yes,
different
I think
sound and
so.
look.
I mean,
Hmm.
yeah, I think so. And we're always trying to appeal to different audiences, diverse audiences in age and ethnicity and political backgrounds. And, because collectively, isn't that really what makes it great anyway? Is people coming with their own lens, their own thing. And if everyone's leaving happy, regardless of all of the things we just talked about, that's wonderful. It's escapism, and I really want that younger audience to becoming, more of a Broadway and Richmond profile patron.
Yeah.
They're always amazed when I talk with a lot of them when they're exiting. And I'm like, so what did you think? They're like, I had no idea that Broadway was this. I had no idea that I was going to feel the music and get to see the depth and the lights, and they thoroughly enjoy it. So. Being on VCU's campus doesn't hurt us any either.
Oh, especially for that show. It's weird going back to
Yeah.
one of my trips to New York when that show was playing. I think Patti LuPone
Mhm.
had some show in the theater next door, and she's notorious for
Mm.
being kind of persnickety and sometimes not very nice. And I think the music was so loud from
So
the
loud.
Alicia,
Yeah.
right, from the Alicia Keys show that she would, like a neighbor who's mad that you're making noise, she would bang on the wall and say, "I'm doing a serious show here, you
Take the
jerks."
broom, hit the
Right?
ceiling.
So this, I
I can
haven't
see
seen
that
this one,
happening.
but I'm curious to see this in
Right,
Richmond blow
right.
the roof off of the
Oh,
of the Altria Theater
yeah.
in downtown. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think it will. Another one is Just in Time. So here we're talking about a more modern day pop culture person, and the story of her life. And now with Just in Time, we're going back into the 50s and 60s of the Bobby Darin, Mac the Knife, Splish Splash, just so many of his
Oh,
hit
well,
songs that
maybe
he
my mom
wrote
would
when he was
like this then.
very young. And honestly, I think everyone would enjoy it because,
Hmm.
it's one of those things that I'm always amazed. I have two sons, and they're one's in early 30s, one in mid 20s. And I'm always amazed at the music that they know just because it's kind of pop culture or, so they know Mac the Knife and, they
Hmm.
know certain songs like that. The Splish Splash, I was taking a bath, so it's amazing to me what they do absorb all through
You
their
know what's
lives in the
weird,
musical
Cindy?
genres.
I bet it won't be that way going forward because everybody listens to their own music on their own Spotify channel, their own
Yes.
Apple Music channel. So
Hmm.
it's interesting. Like Alonzo will sometimes play something. I'm like, I have no clue what. Oh, that's the number one song in America. I'm like, there isn't a number one song in America anymore. So this is kind of
Right.
interesting that to your point, somebody in their 30s would recognize the Bobby Darin
Hmm.
soundtrack or songbook, and the show could be
Yeah.
successful. Fast forwarding 20 or 30 years from now, I'm not sure you'll have the same situation where everyone will go, "Oh, I remember that." Hmm.
That's a good point. But I will say that I think generations are influenced by their parents, by their peers, obviously,
Hmm.
by I think a lot of things are cyclical, don't you? I mean, fashion is
Yeah.
cyclical. Sometimes we look at, oh, everybody loves antiques. Oh no, mid-century modern is what we're looking for now,
Hmm.
and then all of a sudden there's now the granny crafting that everyone's doing. So,
Oh, that good
I
point.
do
Yeah.
think sometimes people go back to the origins of music, I mean, like my boys love Earth, Wind and Fire and Stevie Wonder, and they would, I mean, they didn't grow up with that being on the charts when they were growing up, but because I listened to it, because I listen to show tunes, because I listen to beautiful old croners and things. They're familiar with the Ella Fitzgerald and a Frank Sinatra, and so it's amazing to me what they do absorb. And I hope that we'll continue to do that.
Yeah.
I love all kinds of music, and like you, I just love live performance. I love that people are putting themselves out there, and I mean, giving it their all every night.
Well,
So
this is something that I think is
I like all
important for
kinds of
people
genres.
to be aware of, is that there was a reputation for a little while that these touring shows were kind of second rate, that the performers were people who couldn't make it on Broadway, and they just hired somebody who was their niece to be in the show. That's not been my experience for the last decade or
Yeah.
more. These are people who performed the show on Broadway and then took the contract to go travel
Yes,
around the country. And in some cases, I got to tell you, they're better than the person that I saw on
yeah.
Broadway. They're amazing performers.
I agree with you 100%. And I tell people that all the time, and they don't really believe it till they see it. And they're like, oh my God, I saw this in New York, and this cast was better. I've heard that multiple times. And I also want to give Richmond audiences, some attention and some love in here, because I always hear from cast members continuously how Richmond audiences are so reactive and so responsive, and so they can just feel that energy. I hear it all the time. So way to go, Richmond. I'm proud of you.
Yeah,
Should I go on
gosh.
with my list? I'm sorry.
It's miserable if you're performing, whether you're giving a political speech or whether you're singing a song and everybody's just staring at you. And you don't know, are they hating it? Do they like it? Are they going to applaud at the end? Or are
Right.
they trying to get out the back door? I'm glad that people are emotive on some level. All right, so from Just in
Yeah,
Time,
me
what's
too.
next?
Uh-huh. We've got the Buena Vista Social Club, which is
This is
based on a
Cuban,
true
right? Is
story.
it Cuban?
Yes, it's about, she was a very famous singer in Cuba, in Havana, and then she disappeared from the spotlight. And a young producer kind of discovered her music and then found her and then decided, let's make an album. And so this is kind of the story about that. And that album itself won a Grammy, and because it was just so beautifully done. But you can imagine what the dancing is going to be like in this, So it's a wonderful story. You'll get that Havana feel, and people say they can't sit in their seat. I have not seen this one yet, but I'm getting to go see it this summer, and
Oh,
I
good.
cannot
Okay.
wait.
Yeah. It's very
Yeah.
appealing to me. I did my birthday once at the Tropicana Club in Havana. And
Ah,
you know me, Cindy, being in a communist country, I was interested, but I was in a bad mood. I'm like, I don't like these communists. But I have to say, and now the Tropicana Club's left over from pre-communist era, so I'll give them
right,
credit for
right.
creating something great. But it was amazing, and the performers were fantastic. The singers were great. The
Yeah.
costumes were great. So when I saw that this one was coming, I thought, well, maybe it's reminiscent of that amazing experience that I had in Havana, which was one of the few
Oh,
really
I
nice
hope
things
so.
that happened to me while I was there. And
Yeah.
I'm
Well, I
excited
would
about seeing
love for
this
you
here
and
in
Eliza
Richmond.
to come to that, because I
Okay.
want I want to see if you'll have a hard time sitting in your seat. You'll just
He'll
want to be doing,
dance.
you
He'll
know. Well, we might even get you to dance on that one.
Okay.
And then we wrap up our season of the 6 show subscription season with Harry Potter and the Cursed Child. And that's going to be a big family favorite. And
Is that a
I hear the
musical or a
special
play?
effects are fantastic. It is actually it's more of a play, but
With
it
music or
is,
something?
yeah. And it's the special effects are supposed to just be fantastic. So I have not seen that one yet either, but I'm going to see it. And I just had a friend of mine who did see it in New York and said, I was taking the kids because I thought they'd like it. And they said that they were just as enthralled, if not more so, than their children were.
Well, the
So
Harry
I'm looking
Potter
forward to
crowd
seeing
is
that.
very loyal. They'll show up for that.
Oh yeah.
I have
And
no
that's
doubt.
multi-generational too, in the sense that, as a mom, I read it to my boys when they were young at bedtime, and then they still love Harry Potter. They'll still reference certain things in that all the time. But I did want to add that we do have 2 returning shows. A little one that you may have heard of before. It's called Hamilton, and that one's coming
Okay.
back.
Well, I
That'll be
love
back here in
Hamilton.
February.
In
I
February
I
of
do
next
I do
year?
too. Yes,
Okay.
Yep, 2027. And then we also have Mamma Mia coming back, and that'll be this October.
Gotcha.
So the way kind of the subscriptions work is we have a 6 show package. And subscribers can either just take the 6-show package, or if they want, they can add on what we call our subscription add-ons. In this case would be Mamma Mia and Hamilton, as you see there on the screen. And but if they don't want to take them because they've seen them before, they do not have to. But
Yeah.
we usually always have a 6-show subscription, and that's the Dirty Dancing, The Notebook, Hell's Kitchen, Just in Time, Buena Vista Social Club, and Harry Potter, and then the add-ons of Mamma Mia and Hamilton.
Well, Mamma Mia is a great show, and if you've never seen it, you'll recognize
is.
all the music. That's a lot of fun.
Yes.
And Hamilton,
It is
the
fun.
first time I saw Hamilton was before it even opened on Broadway. I was living in New York, and you know,
Wow.
my thing was I'd work all day, and then about 7:30 I would go buy a cheap ticket and go to the 8 o'clock curtain, and I'd be the last person. I got the last seat for one of the preview performances in the workshop when they were just
Oh,
trying to
wow.
figure it out for Hamilton. And it was another one where I was like, I'm gonna hate this. It's you know, alternative casting to try to make George Washington look bad. I know I'm gonna hate it. But I'm gonna go see it because I'm open-minded, but I'm gonna hate it. And at the end, I was like, wow, this was really actually, it's not my music necessarily, but I really enjoyed it. And I have recommended it ever since. I mean, you know,
Well,
got huge hype, but still.
oh yeah, and but also, and yes, it does have kind of that hip hop rap feel. But there are some beautiful ballads in that
Hmm.
performance as well. Some just wonderful songs, and I love it too. I think the way it was done was just so universal, so like universally different than the
Yeah.
traditional Broadway thing, that I
Yeah.
think those types of things, those types of productions, really help to bring in that younger audience. And
Right.
John, you were chatting about, kind of liberal or conservatism. When I look at the Altria audiences, I see everybody. And I think that there are so many times that the conservative audience are our biggest patrons and really enjoy coming. They really love the arts. And then, of course, obviously I'm looking at the audience and I'm probably trying to guess, or, maybe even stereotype, but it's always a wonderfully mixed audience of ages, of, like I said earlier, ethnicities, socioeconomic backgrounds. And, one of the things we do is we partner with RPAA, which is the Richmond Performing Arts Center, and we have an RPAA night on Broadway on Wednesday nights. And they sponsor anywhere from 70 to 100 tickets, and they give them to organizations and people who would not ordinarily be able to go to the theater. And so that's, also we want people to have those experiences, because that's how we learn about different opinions, right? And that's in art and theater and music and poetry. And I think you see the humanity on the stage,
Yeah.
whatever the message may be. And sometimes they're just fun, silly, and sometimes, like we had the play To Kill a Mockingbird. It was hard to sit there, I mean, you just felt like, oh my gosh, but that's important. That's all important, feeling great and happy and silly, and then also just
Something
really
that's heavy
thinking.
that challenges you a little bit. At least makes you
Yes.
think. You
Yeah.
know, whether you reach the same
Yeah.
conclusion as the playwright is debatable, but it
As
makes you
right,
think.
or the person beside you, right?
Right,
Or the
right.
person beside you, and that's what I think is so interesting about it. But our subscriptions start at $190 for non-prime nights, and those are Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Sunday nights. So they could start as low as $190. Of course, the seating also makes a difference, and then for prime nights, they go up a little bit from there. But we
But
do
seriously, if
encourage
you were in New York,
subscriptions.
Cindy, you couldn't sit in the janitor's office for $190 for
For 190.
5, 6
I know.
shows. I mean, it'd be one show at
It's
$190.
I know. I know, and I
I think it's a
understand,
great deal.
things
Yeah.
are, people are, yeah, I do too. Some people don't realize it, because they've not been to New York, but it is a great deal. And the subscription actually is a better way to go, because you do get more benefits. You're able to, like, if your usual subscription is Wednesday night at, performance, but you can't make it for one of the engagements because you have to go out of town, you can switch it. So
Oh, that helps,
certainly
doesn't it?
being
Yeah.
a subscriber has its benefits. There's your ability to purchase the parking pass ahead of time and do all of that. We also have the Lexus Lounge with our friends at Altria Theater that people can purchase if they'd like, which is kind of like a little bit of a VIP area before the show and during intermission. But we could not do Broadway in Richmond if it was not for all of our community partners, and especially the people at Altree Theater. I mean, they just, their marketing department, their groups and subscription department, production, operations, they are just top level pros. And so we, meeting Nederlander National Markets, which is the presenter of Broadway in Richmond, are thrilled to have such a wonderful partnership with Richmond venues.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad to see that the shows are still coming. There was a little glitch there where one of the companies went bankrupt, and I thought, oh my God, Richmond's going to lose the ballpark. Richmond's going to shut down 6th Street Marketplace. We're going to lose this too. And fortunately, you all stepped up and kept Richmond on the tour, which is important. I don't want to get into the politics of it, and I'm sure you don't either. But like the Richmond Coliseum being closed has really cost Central Virginia that standing on the entertainment circuit, and this keeps it alive.
I agree. We have been presenting since 2009. That was our first year in 2009 and 10. And you will notice that Richmond is now we have 5 premieres, and we are getting them when they're coming right on the road within the first 18 months. So we have arrived. And I think a lot of that is the size of the theater, the audience response, the fact that we have a great subscription load in automatically before we even do individual sales.
And a good publicist.
Isn't it nice to know? Oh, well, you're too kind. Well, she does work her butt off, I can tell you.
I've heard that. Well, hey, before we go, let me ask you about next week, because I'm excited about seeing The Outsiders. I've heard this music, and I remember the movie. It's been decades since I've seen the movie The Outsiders. But what is this one? It starts next Tuesday?
It does. It starts next Tuesday, and we do, people should also know about our student rates, and also we have a lottery, that people can participate in and get tickets at, a more affordable price. But yes, The Outsiders starts next Tuesday. That was a book. I read it in 8th grade. My children ended up reading it, saw the movie, and when I go back now and look at the movie when it came out in the early 80s, I'm like, oh my God, there's Tom Cruise, Matt Dillon. I mean, you go through all of these people
that
big were
stars
cast as these young actors. And I would like to know whoever that casting director was, must have had a crystal ball or something. But and then we also have The Wiz, which is a phenomenal show. I saw this show, and the actor who plays the Scarecrow, I think, steals the show. He is phenomenal, and he's been to Richmond twice before, and Ain't Too Proud, and even back in Motown. So he loves coming.
I think
to
I
Richmond,
interviewed him at the radio station, right?
I think you
did.
Ain't
Too Proud, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, great.
Oh, he is phenomenal Scarecrow. He's just unbelievable. And then we have And Juliet.
See, now I haven't seen this one. This one bothers me a little bit, Cindy. Am I wrong about it? It's kind of a feminist wacko thing, or is that not right? Is that not fair?
Well, see, no, I don't think that's necessarily fair of a statement, to be quite honest.
All right, tell me why.
I think I'm just telling but of course I'm probably somewhat of a feminist, but but I absolutely loved it. When we saw it and I left, I wanted to turn around and go right back in and watch it again.
So it's a retelling of Romeo and Juliet, just without Romeo. Is that right? Is that?
No, it starts off with Romeo and Juliet, and then when Juliet decides not to kill herself, and then she goes and explores this life, about wow, what her life would have been like. This is a reflection of what her life would have been like had she not made that fateful decision.
Oh, all right. Well, now that makes it a little more palatable to me.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, the ending is fantastic. It just really is. And there's like some rumors out there about how the ending is, and that's not true, so I'm not quite even sure where that came from. But the show is phenomenal. It's all pop music, and it's one of those fun, happy shows. That's what I'll just say. It's like you leave there and you like want to go dancing or whatever, because it's
I'm not being
just
lectured
so high
to
energy
the whole time. That's what I'd get tired of, is being lectured to. It's not that.
Yeah. No. I
All
don't
right.
I don't think you are. I mean, they're funny little sayings or lines or moments or whatever, but reflective of the time. I mean, you do have to think, the role that women were in. I mean, they were pretty much told to marry who they were and to do whatever. So there is going to be a little bit of that, but that's also reflective of that time and the freedoms we all enjoy now. So, or at least in this country, as far as women are concerned. But I loved it. I loved
All
it,
right.
and
Well,
I
maybe I'll put that
can't
on the
wait to go
list
back.
too.
You have to. I'm going to make you go to that, John
Okay.
Reed. I
All
want
right.
you to go. And then I'm going to come right down to your seat when it's over and say,
What did you
well,
think? All right. Cindy's always
yeah.
great for all these years. I mean, that means the first year you started was you and I were probably interacting together. And I'm so glad to have this
Yeah.
podcast. You're always welcome. Even if you wanted to come on and talk politics,
Thank
Cindy,
you.
you're welcome to come on the show and talk politics
Well,
too.
I
Because
appreciate that, but I will abstain from that.
you'll stay with the art stuff. I don't blame you. Cindy Creasy, it's
I will.
Broadway in Richmond. You can find out more about the tour that starts this year into next year and the shows that are already in the pipeline to come, starting with The Outsiders
Yeah.
next week. Thanks, Cindy.
Thank you. Take
Appreciate
care.
it very much. Okay. See, isn't that nice? On a Friday, we can talk about something other than politics. And I don't know. I don't talk to everybody about politics. I don't know if Cindy agrees with me or not, but this is the way we used to be in Virginia, where you could talk about things and you didn't have to be in lockstep and you didn't have to show your Republican card or your Democrat card. You could talk about things and not be mean to each other. I mean, you think we'll ever get back to that? I'm doing the best I can. Now I got strong opinions, and if you come for me, I'll come back. But I'm happy to have that kind of conversation. I'm happy to support the arts. I wish that there was more give and take on that. But anyway, we'll take a quick break. Producer Dan rejoins us here at the end of the Reid Revolution on this Friday morning.
Here in Richmond, our freedoms are under attack. The Democrats are ramming through a redistricting referendum, redrawing the congressional maps that shift a fair 6-5 representation to 10-1 in their favor. Rushed ahead of this November's election, it's a clear power grab. Your vote no is important. Virginia, we can't afford to sit this one out. So by April 21st, get out and vote no for fair representation. Vote no to defend freedom.
Hello, Producer Dan. How you doing?
I'm doing okay.
I know
Happy
you're
Friday.
not a
Well,
big musical
sad,
fan like I am, so
not so much. Sad to hear about the passing of Chuck Norris. That is that's a bummer. So, yeah. Did you ever get into the Chuck Norris facts? Had you ever heard some of those?
No.
Like Chuck Norris doesn't sleep, he waits. Chuck Norris doesn't read, he
well, that's
stares
what I'm
the
saying.
books down until
There's
he
a
gets the
whole
information he
thing
wants.
about Chuck Norris and how he is like superhuman.
Yeah.
and it was clever. It was
Chuck Norris doesn't cheat death, he wins fair and square. That sort of thing. Yeah.
Okay. I met Chuck Norris at
Did you?
I was working at Channel 8 and I made everybody mad in management at Channel 8 because I was determined to be the host of Good Morning America or the host of the Today Show and make $10 million a year. I thought that was my destiny. And apparently it was very bad form for an on-air talent not represented by an expensive agent to buy a ticket to this thing called the National Association of Television Production Executives. And it was in LA, and it was maybe the first or second year that I was at Channel 8. So that would have been 95 or 95 or 96.
95.
I started in 94, so it might have been 95 or 96. And I flew to LA, wasn't making much money at Channel 8 at the time. And so I bought myself a ticket, I bought myself a hotel room, and I bought this ridiculous, it was like $1,000 even back then. So it was a lot of money to go to this, but everybody wanted to go to it because all the celebrities who were in the TV shows that you watched showed up because they were selling them to the local stations and to the networks. And so if you were an ABC affiliate, you wanted to put the pressure on ABC to pick up this TV show. Like Oprah was there, and then they wanted the local stations to buy the Oprah show. And then Chuck Norris, I guess it was Walker Texas Ranger, was there trying to get the local stations to purchase Walker Texas Ranger to show what at 11:30 at night, right, or whatever, right after the evening news, or to show it during the day. And so I met so many interesting people and got to have conversations with them, even though it didn't result in me being the anchor of Good Morning America, which I was very disappointed in. I did meet a lot of interesting people. Regis Philbin, that was
control.
Yeah, and you know who was before Kathy Lee?
I don't think there was a before Kathy Lee.
Maybe it was Kathy Lee.
Kelly Ripa was after Kathy Lee.
Yeah, maybe it was Kathy Lee. Regis and Kathy Lee.
Yeah, live with Regis and Kathy Lee. Yeah.
Yeah, all these celebrities. Oh, Frasier. I met Frasier. The whole cast of Frasier. I stood there and talked to them over cocktails.
Gosh, what a great show.
That was cool, right? Kelsey Grammer and what was the brother's name? Niles.
David Hyde Pierce. Yeah.
Yes,
he
David
won
Hyde
multiple
Pierce
Emmys.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was great on that show.
I was a total. The weird thing was I was always one question away from being exposed as a poser who shouldn't have been there, because people would say, "Oh, now do you program the Richmond ABC station?" And I was like, "I'm the morning anchor," and then they were not interested in talking to me anymore because I couldn't buy what they were selling. But
Frasier boasts both my all-time favorite sitcom episode and my all-time favorite sitcom scene, and they're both from the show's second season. But the
I guess you're now going to tell us about that.
I should. I got to drop the other shoe, right? The favorite episode is the one where Frasier is trying to set up his new boss on a date with Daphne, his dad's live-in nurse Daphne, and doesn't realize that the new boss is gay. And so the new boss thinks that Frasier is interested in him, and it just becomes this comedy
that's a comedic disaster.
It's just great. It's great. It is a fabulous 25 minutes, sans commercials of television. And the other, later in that series, or that season, Frasier and his brother get upset that their father has endorsed a certain candidate for Congress. So Frasier and Niles decide they're going to endorse the opponent. And they get together to do a campaign ad for the opponent. And I don't want to give anything away. You probably find the scene on YouTube, but you got to look up the episode. I think was called The Candidate, but they do two takes of the ad. One before Frasier becomes privy to some unknown information, and then one after, and it is absolutely hysterical.
I don't get to see these shows anymore. Is there any?
They're on the streaming services. Yeah, you can get them on the streaming services.
But I mean, do they do? I just don't watch local TV or network TV anymore. So do they still have shows like Friends and Frasier? And because everybody would watch those shows.
Friends is popular enough that it's maybe on TBS or something.
Oh, no. You missed what I'm saying. I'm not talking about the repeats.
Oh, you mean just actual on network television?
Do they produce anything like that now? I don't know. I don't watch it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of reality stuff these days. It's just a lot of reality television, I think.
Because that's cheaper.
I mean, the fact of the matter is that in our woke era, everybody's afraid to laugh at anything. Yeah,
you can't make fun of things.
When was the last really, really, really funny movie you saw in a movie theater? I mean, it's been a while.
You couldn't make the Naked Gun movies now.
I mean, and the Judd Apatow movies that he used to make with Will Ferrell and
because everybody's so mean and so hung up on being woke that you can't make fun of anybody.
Yeah, it's just.
I used to tell people, Dan, you heard me say this at the radio station. I know the difference between a gay joke and an F-word joke.
Right.
One is making fun. It's fine. It doesn't hurt my feelings. You can crack a gay joke, but an F-word joke is designed to humiliate and do harm and mock and ridicule me to denigrate me.
Right.
And there's a difference. And people don't know the difference. Like, they're black jokes. You can tell a black joke. I think there are cultural differences that everybody knows it. Everybody, if you have a black spouse or you have a black family that's a part of your life, go to Thanksgiving dinner and they'll tell jokes about the differences between whites and blacks. I find that amusing, as long as it doesn't cross into, I'm trying to denigrate you, I'm trying to humiliate you and harm you and make you some sort of piece of trash. And that's where it crosses the line. But nobody has that discernment anymore. And I don't think it's just personal opinion. I think most people know the difference between something that's harmless and maybe is a stereotype that's true or not true. I mean, the awful thing is sometimes stereotypes are true. But there's a difference between telling something that everybody can laugh at and something that's designed to harm the person that's sitting across from you.
Well, the best comedy needs to have a tinge of truth to it for sure. And I mean, I remember the line from the movie Up in the Air with George Clooney from about 15 years ago when his new associate, whom he's shepherding into the business, he starts saying all sorts of things about what to do in the airports and how to get through security. And she's, oh my gosh, how could you say that? How could you think this way? And he's like, I stereotype. It's faster. So he sort of was saying that. But yeah,
we'll add that to the list. I'm not familiar with that.
Oh, it's a great movie. It's not a pick me upper though. Oh my gosh, it is not a pick me upper, but it is a really, really well made movie.
Okay. All right. Well, speaking of well made and sometimes funny, let's talk about the best and worst of the internet that we get with you on a daily basis. What have you chosen for today?
Let's see. Well, we do have a Punch update. I got to get the photo here of you with
We'd
you
almost
with Punch
forgotten
here.
about Punch the Monkey.
We do have a Punch. We do have a Punch update, but we got to obligatorily we have to show the photo of you with Punch.
My favorite AI picture with Punch the Monkey that apparently upset all these women in Richmond who thought that it was goofy or stupid or something. I like that picture. I'm gonna get it framed and put it here on the wall behind me.
Look, if this is AI, it's the most convincing AI I've ever seen. I think this is real, but I think Punch getting some love. So here we go.
That's sweet. Is that real? Do we know if that's real? I didn't think they had any plants in that zoo. That's why I
maybe it isn't real. It's very realistic looking. That's for sure.
I hope it's true. I feel bad for this little monkey.
Yeah.
Little Punch. And I can't tell. It's clearly a bunch of people have figured out that they can get a bunch of clicks and likes on the internet. So they're just creating garbage nonstop about Punch the Monkey. And I have to tell you, I'm a sucker for it. I stop and look at every little video of poor Punch the Monkey. And I haven't cried over Punch the Monkey. I'm not going to cry over Punch the Monkey. But I do feel some emotional connection to poor Punch.
I may have shed a tear or two. Certainly early on. Oh my gosh! I just the one of the other monkeys in the pen just dragging him around, and I was like, oh, this is awful. But
well, I hope he's doing better.
Maybe Punch needs a superhero to support him and to defend him. I know you're a superhero guy. You like Superman, like I like Superman, and well, I want to introduce you to a new superhero, and I call him Tatman.
See, I've had my blood tests done. I've had no issues with them. There's nothing out of the ordinary. People like to imagine that there would be. People ask me all the time what my health must be like, or they assume all the time what my health must be like is a better way of putting it. But in reality, I've never been in better health and in better shape.
Real guy.
And I haven't even been sick in years. I can't even tell you the last time I was even a
little
sick.
So, he gets sick.
People who are afraid of getting tattooed because they're worried about their health, you may as well be afraid of the boogeyman.
Well, I think we're seeing the boogeyman.
Yeah, right.
What job does that guy have? If that's a real person, what job does he have? Who's going to hire him? Even if he took the stuff out of his nose, what is the deal?
Oh my goodness.
Do we know anything about that guy?
No, just
God, that's scary to me. And imagine if you were a kid walking down the street and you saw that person. I mean, I'm a nice person. I don't want to beat up on everybody, but that is crazy. And that's what your kids are seeing all day and all night on their cell phones. And your husband and your wife are seeing that too. That's crazy.
I do think that Tatman is going to have a hard time hiding his secret identity through an alter ego.
No kidding.
Well, it's fitting, ironic. I don't know the proper adjective here. I was going to compare the series that has become a favorite of mine on this segment to a series featuring now the late Chuck Norris on late night Conan O'Brien, the Walker Texas Ranger Lever. I don't know if you ever saw that, where once NBC got the rights to Walker Texas Ranger, Conan would pull a lever and like the most ridiculous clips of Walker Texas Ranger would play, and it was very, very, very funny. But
I've never watched Conan O'Brien.
I certainly missed the old late night show from NBC. It was pretty great, and he was pretty good on it. But and you never know, you might see a little Walker Texas Ranger a little later in the show. But the Baby Trump series has become for me what like the Walker Texas Ranger lever.
Yeah, you're obsessed with Baby
I
Trump.
I love this, but we have a couple new ones today. So here we go.
My documentary is #1 on Amazon Prime, the most streamed film in the country. I am, as I said, a visionary.
I posted about it on Truth Social 4 times, so really that's a team effort, and I'd say I'm responsible for at least 60% of those streams, probably more.
The film is about my life, my journey. You are in maybe 7 minutes of it.
Best 7 minutes of the whole thing. Everybody's saying it. The other hour and a half is you lighting candles and talking to decorators, which is fine. But the ratings spike when I walk in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
I chaired the United Nations Security Council this month. First sitting First Lady to ever do it. What did you do that day?
I was running a war, Melania. But sure, your meeting was very nice, very important. I'm sure the delegates loved it.
Amazon paid $40 million for my film. How much did they pay for yours?
I don't have a film, but when I do, it'll cost them $400 million, and it'll be the biggest documentary in history, bigger than yours, which isn't saying much. Your stars, a decorator, and a candle.
I wonder if that ends with a fight between the two of them.
Right, yeah, her slapping his hand away.
Remarkably like what you would expect. Kind of a little spat, a little love spat to be between those two. He knows not to cross her, I think. Don't you think?
Yeah, I think so.
She's probably the only
she
person
doesn't suffer
in the world
fools.
that he
I think
won't
she's
cross.
Well, and you've seen the documentary. I have not yet. I plan to watch
You
it
still haven't seen
soon
it?
here because you haven't seen it.
No, I said
no,
you
I
still haven't seen
no,
it.
I haven't
thought
seen
you were
it.
going to go see it that opening week.
No, I haven't seen it yet, but I think it's streaming now.
It's
so I'm
streaming
gonna
now, yeah.
gonna take a look. But yeah, I mean,
It's
from what I
interesting.
saw from the clips, the clips of the film had her sort of kind of talking back at him a little bit, probably unlike many people get away with doing. So
A little bit,
yeah,
not much.
not much. But
That's an
and then
interesting-
there was the
that-
one clip
that-
where he's like, Did you see me on the news today? And he was like, No, darling, I was busy. I was doing this. I'll watch it. I'll watch it tonight.
I think I don't want to go so far. I mean, who knows what their home life is like? It's
Right.
like any other couple. You never know what's going on behind the scenes.
Right.
But it's an interesting dynamic. And if you're curious about that, this is one of those opportunities to see something that probably isn't completely staged. But
Am I out of line to say that I'm pretty sure I know what his primary attraction to her was, and I'm pretty sure that I know what her primary attraction to his was?
that's not very nice, but maybe. You never know. You know, a woman like Melania can find a rich person like that. Go to Palm
that's
Beach
true.
and hang out at
That's
the
true.
Colony Hotel, and by tomorrow you'll have met somebody who's got $1 million. No doubt. I mean, no question about it. So maybe there's more to it than just
Let's hope.
money.
Let's hope.
But they've been together for a long time.
They have,
and
20-some years now, right?
So surely, and if she put up with what she put up with the campaign and the first time at the White, I mean, honestly,
Right.
I don't know what their relationship. It's not my business what their relationship is. I try not to talk about other people's
Now, I
relationships.
did use the word attraction. So at least what I think got both
but
of them
that
in
would
the
be
door for
mitigated
each other.
pretty quick.
Yeah.
With what they went through at the White House, and it wouldn't have surprised me if it was only a financial thing. It wouldn't have surprised me if at the end of the first term she was like, "Peace out, I'm not doing this
Right.
anymore."
Yeah. Don't
Right?
you
That
think about
wouldn't-
running again, or else I'm out of here. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
again, it's not my business, and I don't know. But if there's got to be more to it than that. If she's willing to put up with what she's put up with, and knowing what she was going to put up with him wanting to do it, I wouldn't have surprised me either had she said, "You make sure you stay out of prison, but hell no, do not. You're never running for something again if you want
Right.
me to stay." Right? I couldn't blame anybody with what he has been put through.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean, my
you should
family's
watch
pretty
the
close.
documentary and see.
Yeah, no, I will. I mean, my family's pretty close with the Nixon family, so I mean, gosh, it talk about a family that went through the ringer on account of
Well, a lot of them do.
political
Think
life.
about poor
Yeah.
Bob McDonnell. What they put Bob McDonnell
gosh.
through.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I'll
all,
say it.
all
Think
over,
about
all
poor
over
Alonzo
nothing.
and what they put me through and him
Yeah.
through. These a-holes here.
Yeah.
Forgive me for putting it that way. But,
Yeah. No, it's true.
you talk about real people who get run through the ringer and abused. Well, we don't need to go down that road, but it's
Well, I have one more baby Trump clip to close out the show clips. Here we go. Dr. Trump on the couch with a patient.
Doc, I got to tell you something. Don't tell anyone this.
Safe space, Joe. I mean, I'm going to tell everybody, but go ahead.
I think I might be a Republican.
Wait, say that again?
I went to one of your rallies in disguise. I wore a hat. The crowd did the USA chant, and I almost joined in. Scared me more than Kamala's laugh. Almost.
Joe, this is the most lucid you've been in a decade. Welcome to the party. We have trucks. We have flags. You're going to love it.
Do I get a hat?
Joe, you get the best hat. Believe me.
See, you were really obsessed with the Trump baby stuff, which I think is clever. And I don't think I can say it enough, Dan. If we were dependent on the networks or Saturday Night Live or any of the really established wealthy comedians to create this stuff, I just don't think you'd ever
Wouldn't
see
happen.
it because they won't mock Joe
No.
Biden and they won't make Trump like the little baby is kind of a cute little version of Donald Trump, right? So they would never allow that. They are only interested in tearing people down. So this is interesting to see. Huh.
Yeah, no, I think it's very. My parents actually were the ones who introduced me to the series. I said, "Oh, this is great," and I've gone down the rabbit hole. I've really enjoyed it, but yeah.
So now what we know what producer Dan is doing at 3 o'clock.
That's right. Yeah,
I'm sending him clips about international news and the latest bombing in Iran.
John, wait till you see the latest Trump baby.
Right. Okay. That explains a lot about this.
A lot, yeah, exactly. Yeah, where my intellect level lies. Yeah, exactly. So
was that it? Was that
that's all that I have for today.
Okay.
I guess we are at 11:35.
Yeah,
getting
fair
close
enough.
to tourney time. We got Virginia playing this afternoon. I'm very excited. Go Hoos! So they better not blow it. But yeah,
and they're playing
like Duke almost did yesterday. So yeah.
And they're playing.
Duke almost lost. They play at I think 1:50 this afternoon against Wright State. I think is the.
And where is the game?
Virginia's, that I don't even know. I didn't even get that far in looking it up. But yeah, Virginia's a 3 seed, and I think Wright State's a 14. So I was very happy that Virginia got a 3 seed because that's just a little easier path through the tournament than being the 4 seed, where if you make it to the Sweet 16 round after this week, you're going to have to go up against the number 1 seed in your region. So that at least gets put off for another game based on the fact that Virginia's a 3 if they make it that far. So yeah.
Well, I'm mad at everybody in the management of UVA, but I'm always going to cheer for the home team.
Believe me,
Okay.
yeah, join the club there. Join the club there. It's but at least the new president, I think, is still the new president. He hasn't been dispensed with yet, right? I don't think.
No, they validated that look, he's not some right-wing conservative. That's
No, he's
the
not.
Crazy thing about
No,
the
he's
president
not.
of UVA is someone that if any other situation had occurred and he'd been named president, I think all these wacko leftists in Charlottesville would be excited about it. But they just wanted they wanted to slap him around and abuse him and insult him in order to get to Glenn Youngkin, in order to get to the conservatives who are pointing out that the University of Virginia, the flagship school of the Commonwealth of Virginia, has turned into an indoctrination camp for DEI and leftists. And that, look, you don't have to agree with me. You don't have to concur with every judgment or everything I believe in. I'm not saying that, but you should allow people like me to be on campus, to express our opinions. You should hire professors who are traditionalists to give the students there an opportunity to be exposed to a lot of different ideas and not feel like they're going to get shafted if they don't go along with your leftist principles. And I think UVA, along with a bunch of other schools in Virginia, have bought into this DEI garbage where they say, oh, we're so open-minded. This full circle to the start of the show. We're so open-minded and we're so diverse and we're so everything except diversity of thought, everything except actually allowing people who don't agree with us to exist in our world. That's how open-minded they are. And I got a problem with it. But on that happy note,
Yeah.
Have
All
a
right.
great
Well, hey.
weekend, Producer Dan.
Yes,
Thank
you
you
too.
very much. Hope you'll follow both of our pages on Facebook, The Reid Revolution, and on X, Twitter. You can download the show on Spotify and Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Hope you give us a like and follow, and on YouTube as well. If you want to be a part of the program or you have an idea for a guest, send me a note at thereidrevolution@gmail.com, thereidrevolution@gmail.com, and we will see you on Monday morning. Have a wonderful weekend.
Did I? Close friend? Golly, that's awful. Isn't that awful?
Oh, yeah, Vince, that's just awful.